All right, welcome to Bite Me. This is season 1, episode 30, The Truth About bardude97. Boomers versus millennials and the Gen Zs who have been made to mediate us. Today on Bite Me, we explore the differences in generation and the future as a whole with my good friend Jason, otherwise known on TikTok as bardude97. Jason, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Jason. I am known on TikTok as bardude97, as she said. I'm also a bartender. That's my day job. It's my only job at the moment, really. But I also have an unknowingly significantly large TikTok following because of one video I made that there is no white culture, and people were like, "Oh, he gets it." So that exploded. I also own a bartending business. It's called Gallagher Grove. Gallagher Grove. That's a hard thing to say. Gallagher Grove. That's too many G's. It's a combination of my business partner's name and mine. Her name is Sophia Gallagher.
Nice. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it doesn't. Whenever I try to explain it to people, I say Gallagher Grove. But my last name is Musgrove. Her last name is Gallagher. So combined it. You can follow me on Instagram at either Jason_Musgrove22 or Confessions of a Gen Z Bartender Pod as well, which is my podcast Instagram.
Okay, very cool. We'll plug some of that at the end here. Gallagher Grove. So is she related to any of the members of the Shameless cast by chance? Or I'm a big fan.
I don't know if she's even watched the show. Like, I know that she's very much into like The Bachelor and Love Island. Love Island more so because that's more interesting, and it's British. So who's not interested in British people talking about nonsense?
I love British people. I love the British people show. I really do.
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna ask. Do you want me to address you as bardude97 or just Jason? Is that okay?
No, just Jason. It's weird because like I had my first like recognition like in public the other day.
Oh my God, really?
I went through a drive-through and I forgot to put my mask on.
Yeah.
And I went through and I was just wearing regular clothes, driving in my truck, and I guess someone from the Wendy's inside, like one of the customers, saw my face and pointed at me.
Wow.
And said, "Bardude," and I went, "Oh no." What happened?
Recognition from a Wendy's. Nice.
Just a random customer inside the store. Oh, in Target? That's interesting.
Yeah, well, you know what's even more interesting is when they don't say anything to you in person and you were both standing there and then they reach out to you on TikTok and say, "Were you here at this time?" And it's like, who the fuck are you? But that's okay. I guess your fandom can come about in different ways. It's not weird or creepy at all. We're just regular people,
Right. And I'm like an actual child almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm only 23.
Yeah.
So when people like point at me aggressively, which I do that too, but to me, when the things that you do that come off as aggressive are happening to you, you're like, all right, let's not do that. I do finger guns a lot, and people are like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
No one understands the finger guns and the pointing aggressively. They're like babies.
Yeah.
When babies point,
they do that. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's fun. That's fun that somebody at a Wendy's saw you. So, okay, on that note, you are by trade a bartender, but your TikTok is primarily driven towards social injustices, politics, and the like. What led you to that interest?
I mean, I grew up in probably the wealthiest part of Oklahoma. I grew up in Edmond, Oklahoma, just north. It's a suburb of Oklahoma City. And I couldn't care less about politics until I was like 18. And at that point, Donald Trump was running for office.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any political opinions, I'm sure I had run into transgender people in the past, but I didn't have a care about it. And I think that comes from now learning that the stigma with Gen Zers has sort of gone away with transgender people for the most part. but then like I got to college and I was able to think for myself a little bit, and I don't know, I saw the stuff that was going on when I was on campus and the things people were saying. Because I went to Oklahoma State for 3 semesters, and it's in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is just a college town. Like no one lives there other than college students.
Yeah.
And it's a very rural place other than the college itself, and it's an agriculture based university. So a lot of conservatives went there, but we also had a significant foreign student population, and
Yeah.
they got not very nicely treated. And I started like going to meetings with them, and I started to expand my views. I was invited to a mosque and a synagogue, and that's sort of what drew me away from organized religion as a whole, because I grew up Methodist, very, very Christian.
Right.
And I realized that the same things that they were preaching at the mosque and at the synagogue, same things I grew up learning. And it was very interesting. And I heard the things that Donald Trump was saying on the news, because that's all that was on the news.
Right.
And I was in the Air Force ROTC, so I sort of had to
You
keep
were
my
a
public
Rossi
opinions.
kid?
I was in the
You were Rossi.
that's why I keep this haircut. Like I don't like when hair touches my ears at
Yeah, that's
all.
hella Rossi, man.
And so I had to sort of keep my public political opinions to myself. And I was just trying to be aware of things without actually getting super involved. And then Donald Trump became the nominee, and I was already out of ROTC by that point. I was in for a year until my third semester at OSU. I became very politically outspoken.
Right.
And I didn't make it a secret that I was voting for Hillary Clinton. Like I would go out and I would literally get into debates with people who were like campaigning on behalf of Donald Trump. I went to a Trump rally. The people that I went with got removed, but I did not. I thought that was strange. I just left with them,
Are you
but it
saying that
wasn't
you
like I
went with
was.
minorities? Is that what you're
I
saying?
mean, I went with, yeah, there was one black girl and 3 white dudes,
Yeah.
and the other 3 got removed, and one of the white dudes, just sort of walked out behind him. I was like, what do you want? I'm confused. What did I not do to get this treatment?
Right.
And so I, as soon as Donald Trump became president, is when I became very, very much into
Politically
politics. I started,
actively driven.
yes, and I transferred schools. I went to University of Central Oklahoma, which is where my mom is a professor. And I got involved with a nonprofit that teaches civics. And now I help, I guess now I should say, right before the pandemic, I worked with local and state legislators to write legislation and get systemic change made. And
Yeah.
some of them were Democrats, most of them were Republicans. And so I think it really comes as a reaction to Donald Trump's presidency, because I was a teenager when he started running for office, and I had to become an adult in terms of the political aspect of my life very quickly, because
So
if you don't conduct yourself in a way, people won't listen to you, they won't respect you. And so I as a very devout leftist, had to sort of rein in my very radical ideas in their opinion and try to compromise on things that I wasn't really comfortable compromising. I had to use language that I didn't like using, like instead of saying socialized medicine, I should say affordable medicine, which is not what I wanted.
yeah.
So like things that should be provided by the government, I had to say, well, we should make them affordable for people.
So on that note, because you've made a reference on your TikTok and your podcast before about a program that you entered as a teen that kind of helped. I think you were a teenager. Well, I mean, you're still kind of a teenager, but
I
that
was
kind of
20. Yeah.
yeah, shaped your world and your world views as a whole. What was that program, and what was the catalyst of that, like that sort of made that shift in your life? You talked about Donald Trump, but what was the program you were in?
It's called Generation Citizen. It was started in 2012. Yes, 2012 by a guy named Scott Warren in New York. And it was meant as just a local thing to help the underprivileged school districts in New York, like help clean up their districts and provide more resources to the students. And then it gained pretty national attention very quickly, and it expanded a lot quicker. So now it's all over the country. So there's chapters in New York and Rhode Island and California, Oklahoma, Texas.
Is that like grant funded or what?
It is grant funded. Yes, it's a federally grant funded nonprofit.
Okay.
And it teaches civics. And until COVID hit, I was what was known as a democracy coach. I would go into schools and I would teach lessons about what civics was, what it meant to be an active member of your community. And Oklahoma City has a very large undocumented immigrant population. So a lot of what I was teaching about what it meant to be a good citizen was not, I had to explain to the students, some of whom were undocumented immigrants, that in our eyes, a citizen is just someone who lives in a place. So like if you live in Oklahoma City, you are a citizen of Oklahoma City. It doesn't necessarily mean anything other than that. If you benefit or are negatively impacted by the effects of the political decisions that your representatives make, then you are a citizen of that place. And so if you have to follow the same laws as everyone else, then you're a citizen of that place. And so I really got very much into that, and it became sort of a passion for me. I was able to become the chapter director at the University of Central Oklahoma. And before COVID hit, there was going to be a position created at the state level called Director of Student Volunteering. And I was up for that. And then COVID hit and they discontinued the entire Democracy Coach program because they didn't have any money, because it's a nonprofit, and they just didn't have the resources to provide to college students.
The casualties of the COVID.
Yeah.
Many things were lost during this time.
Yeah.
That's sad. I'm so sorry, Jason. But
No.
it
did help me get into TikTok though. Like that's what my TikTok is.
And honestly, I mean, that brings me to my next question. As a bystander of the ongoing brawl that is Boomer versus Millennial, and again, you had talked about, you seeing Trump coming into play and what you thought that meant for the US and what you thought that your role was going to be and how you took on some activism. I mean, he's gone now. We've got Biden in there now and Kamala. And where do you see the future going, or what are you hopeful to see it go towards?
I mean, being so invested in the current state of politics means that because we have not put Trump in prison, that there's really no way to say that he's like gone, which is unfortunate. I think that there's a real chance that he could run again. I don't think that he will. I think that he's going to fade. But there is a significant number of the population that genuinely believes that he won the election and it was stolen from him. And I don't love that. And then this creates further animosity between generations, which is unfortunate, because generations should band together to create progress rather than divide themselves even more. And you see it again, you see it with Gen Zers and millennials even, which I think is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because we like millennials like set the stage for Gen Zers to thrive on social media. And we're like, you know what? Your side parts and skinny jeans can go to hell. And as soon as I heard the beef with side parts and skinny jeans, I was like, what's the deal? Because I have a side part and I wear skinny jeans. Right. And I was like, what's happening?
Well,
You're
yeah,
like, all right,
like
get a little bit older, you'll realize that middle parts looks weird.
yeah,
All
it
right,
does.
you're not in the Backstreet Boys. You don't need to
Yeah,
be doing that.
yeah, no. On that note, we're gonna
But
take
with boomers and millennials,
yeah,
it's created more division.
I agree with you. We're gonna take a real quick break.
Okay.
Okay, we're back with Bite Me. It's me and Jason bardude97 from TikTok. So we were talking about kind of the boomer millennial brawl. And just speaking of brawls in general, I know that you and I commiserate over this. You live in Oklahoma. It's red state, right?
The most red. Like we have not had a single district go blue since Johnson was president.
So your political views, like have they, I'm going to assume that like I do, you also deal with the red state mindset. And how has that affected your relationships with people, or has it affected them? And what advice do you have for people who face that same dilemma?
So because the majority of people that I speak with in Oklahoma, because I work in politics as well,
Right.
most of them are very conservative, which is fine. I have no issue with conservatives. But then you take it a step further where my body wants to burp and I can't. I'm sorry if I'm like, what am I doing? Because like we're looking at each other on Zoom and I'm like, do I look weird?
Oh, we both look weird, honey. It's fine.
I'm like full of like carbs and soda.
Yeah, me too. That's the pandemic.
But with conservatives and Trump supporters, I make a distinction because the mayor of Oklahoma City, which I technically live in Oklahoma City, so my mayor, David Holt, he's a Republican and he has some conservative viewpoints, but he's also very progressive in a sense. Like he seeks out diversity in his staff, and he's been called a Republican in name only, which is not a hard thing to do in the state of Oklahoma. You just have to say, hey, maybe undocumented immigrants should be treated like people. Or hey, maybe it shouldn't be super easy to just like get a gun. Right. And he's been very supportive of everyone, and he's been working with the Biden administration to give back to underprivileged communities, which is what he is a mayor of. And so my relationships with, like, on a professional basis have not really changed, but like because I have tattoos and I very openly wear a Black Lives Matter bracelet all the time, people that I run into in the state of Oklahoma, and I have a Black Lives Matter sticker on my truck, sometimes I'll get some comments about that. And some of my patrons at the bar that I work at, they'll say some stuff and they want to talk about that. And I try to evade that as much as possible. And with my family, because my family is from Texas, a lot of them are very conservative. I live with my parents, so it's not like I've been kicked out of the house over voting for Hillary. My mom is a very devout Democrat. And until like last year, my dad was a registered Republican. So like my dad voted for Biden, which I didn't know until like right after the election. But in 2016, he voted for Donald Trump, which was a whole thing to hear about, and didn't really make us too happy. But we try to be as cordial about things as possible. And like we're all on the same page. Now we all agree Trump's a white supremacist, and Biden was the better choice for sure.
This is a question I have to ask you, and for anybody out there who doesn't know, like when I interview somebody, there's a run of show for the podcast and everything, and any podcaster will tell you that. But this is a bonus question that maybe you weren't expecting, Jason, but I know that my followers will ask me to address it. And I'm sorry, it only just crossed my mind. So we could say that you're an example for the other white males, maybe,
I try to be as good of a person I can be with the amount of privilege that I've been given, because there are certain things in my life that had I like even if I had just been not white in Edmond, or if I had just been not a man in Edmond, I would not have been able to do like the amount of things that I've been able to say with literally no recourse in Edmond is
Like the
solely because, yeah,
yeah.
because like I've organized protests in Edmond and in Oklahoma City, and I've been very outspoken about my beliefs, and I don't get the amount of backlash that other people do, specifically in my town. And I think that has a significant amount to do with the amount of privilege that I've been given and the negative treatment of people of color and women and LGBTQ people who have not been given the same privilege that I have taken advantage of for the last almost 24 years. So
Yeah, but you're recognizing of it. So that's,
yeah.
I mean, I think that that's all we can be is aware. I mean, I, as a white woman, have to set the example for other white women who aren't necessarily being the best human beings they could be. So I think, I think that's a mindfulness in all of our interactions is super important. But okay, all right. Enough about the political stuff. I gotta ask you. I've always wondered, like, what is your knockout, like, drag down, like, worst ever? I'm sure you have met some fucking drunks. Like, what is your best story that you have to date for being a bartender?
So I have one that's like legitimately like a drunk man wanting to fight somebody, and then I have another one where like someone who I really shouldn't have made an enemy of, like
I want a
that
weird
I
one.
got to. So I'll tell you two real quick. So
Okay.
the best one of just a drunk man being the worst. There was a man who came into the Top Golf where I work, and he had been cut off. He was with his friends. They were like, it was some kind of tournament they were having. It was like a whole floor devoted to just getting the highest score possible. And he got cut off by his bay host. And then his bay host told me, hey, don't serve that man. And he was right outside so I could see what bay he was at and who he was.
Yeah.
And so he came to me and I said, I'm sorry, I can't serve you. He said, why not? Do you know how much money I spend? And I said, yes, because I've made all of your drinks. I do know how much money you've spent.
We hope he was a good tipper.
Yeah.
No?
So
oh shit.
No.
Oh
He
man.
came in and he said, call a manager. And I said, okay. And so I turned around to do it. And he slammed his fist on the marble bar top.
Oh, I think I heard this one in your TikTok. Yeah. Or maybe
Yeah,
you
and
told me.
yeah, I think I said it on my podcast, like the first episode, I think. But
Yeah.
he slammed his fist down and he broke the bar. Like
That's
the marble
crazy.
just like split, and I had to just like look at security, and security heard it because
Yeah, it's
it's not
marble.
like it was a quiet thing. He broke the marble bar top, and it's like a big bar. It's not like a small bar, and it's a little
And
thin.
it's
No, it's like
marble. That's
thick.
hard.
I know.
Yeah.
And the security guard came over, and the sheriff who works with us came over and had to haul him off. His friends tipped very well, which was good, but I don't imagine he would have tipped well if he had not, you know, had that much to drink.
It's
And
an
then the other
apology
one,
tip.
right? And then the other one is I was bartending at the Oklahoma Stadium. The I was with a catering company that with the University of Oklahoma Stadium, and I bartended through them. And there was a game. I think it was homecoming, and Barry Switzer, the former head coach of the Oklahoma football team,
Yeah.
who won a national championship with the University of Oklahoma and also won 2 Super Bowls with the Dallas Cowboys when he was the head coach and drove Troy Aikman away. He came in, and he's he's in his 80s. So I didn't really have a problem with him being like belligerent because he's a really old man. But I forgot at the time that the reason he was removed from both of those jobs is because he was a pretty aggressive alcoholic.
Okay.
And I guess he just hasn't gotten over that.
Yeah. Well,
He probably drinks less, but it's not enough.
yeah.
So he came in and he handed me a flask. And he said, "Can you fill this for me?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "One, this is purely a beer bar. So I can't just like pour beer into your flask because it's a tiny little thing. Because
Yeah.
there are other places in the stadium that serve liquor, and he could have gone to them, and they might have given it to him because they might have been OU fans and they didn't care. But
It's
I
a
was not.
your issue, isn't it? Like you have to have a
Yeah,
certain
like,
yeah.
and so I said, "No, I can't do that. It's illegal." And he said, "Do you know who I am?" And I thought, "I mean, your face is on the wall. Yes, I do know who you are." I said, "Unfortunately, sir, I cannot do that. But I would be happy to serve you anything else." And he said, "No." And he just was making a whole scene. And I had to call security over and remove I think he was like 82 at the time.
Wow.
And he got walked out of the stadium. And I can't imagine what people were seeing because like they know who this man is more than
his
I
face
do.
is on the wall. Like
They were like, "That's Barry Switzer." Just seeing him get escorted out of the stadium. And I went to reapply to work at basketball games and then this past football season, and I never heard back.
Yeah, it's a bad reference, I guess. We all make choices. Would you have wanted to work there under those circumstances? I don't know.
No, well, because OU fans are insane, and I can't. They're out of their minds.
Well, I mean, okay, that's a pretty good story. I appreciate you being here today, Jason. Jason,
yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Of course. Let's go ahead and let's plug in your podcast and your bartending stuff real quick. Tell the people where they can find your GoFundMe, where they can find your bar, where they can find information and your podcast and all that.
Right. Okay. So I have a podcast that's called Confessions of a Gen Z Bartender, where I talk about similar things to Brooke talking about, and I talk about politics. I talk about my experience bartending. I talk about current events and past events and my beliefs about certain aspects of the political spectrum. I also have my own bartending business, which I said at the beginning. It's called Gallagher Grove. I did it this time. It's called Gallagher Grove. It's a mobile bartending business where if you don't have a set bartender at your event space or at your venue, I, along with my business partner, will come out and will bartend for you. Right now, it's just based in Oklahoma. So if you're an Oklahoma listener and you have an event coming up, then definitely reach out to me. I'm sure that if it explodes, we will go other places and we would be more than happy to come and bartend for you. We are on a college student budget, so we need a little bit of help. So I have a GoFundMe set up. You can find it under Help Us Start Our Business. My name's Jason Musgrove if you just want some help finding it. And it's our goal is $5,000, which I don't think is a whole lot, you know.
That's pretty small. That's small business.
But yeah, like right now we're at I think almost $1,000, which is awesome. But we could take all the help we can get. And I'm also on TikTok as bardude97, and I'm on Instagram, which is all linked in my TikTok. And so if you follow Brooke, you will enjoy following me. Probably not as much as you enjoy following Brooke, but I think she's awesome.
Jason is a white male, but he's different. So
he's different.
All right, that's it for us, guys. Gallagher Grove, you can look it up and also find Jason Bardude97 on TikTok, as well as his podcast, Confessions of a Gen Z Bartender. Go ahead and check me out on Insta and Facebook. And as always, follow the I can't say my business either. Truthful Groomer website. We'll see you guys.